Good morning. Hello, Dennis. Yes, yes. Good morning. Yeah. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Good morning and welcome to Mid Morning Medium Chat with Adam the Black Swamp Medium. Thank you so much for being here on another Saturday morning, as always. um, yeah, so hopefully everybody's well and had a good week. I know I've had a few things. It's been kind of another one of those little bit of up and downs. Good morning, Sharon. Uh, like I said, some up and downs a little bit, but overall, it's okay. I mean, it's like anything. You have. We all experience the same things. Hey, good morning, Rodney. And the it just depends on how the week's rolling out. We had some more astrological things happen this week, which we'll probably touch base there. Hey, Debbie. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. But and maybe some of you experienced some things as well. Um, but yeah, so I'm trying to think of. I know I had a few things I wanted to mention and things because hey Phil, what's happening, buddy? Good morning. Hope you're doing good. Um, yeah, so I am a little scatterbrained today, guys. So bear with me. Um, I man, it's funny. Like there's so many of these, astrological events that have been happening kind of back to back recently, and we're, some people are into it, some people aren't, some think it's hogwash and stuff like that, and there's some obviously some of us that experience it, and even then, like I've talked about it before, where like last year I didn't want to really focus so much on the or at least pay attention to a lot of the events that were going on. Oh, good morning, Nicole. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to, because you do some research, you look things up, and you hear, um so many different, opinions and things and stuff. And so it was interesting is that, in the past when I started like at least paying attention, not totally understanding it or knowing it to great levels, which I still don't, but that's why I always say I leave it up to the ones that are into it to keep me informed. But it's interesting is that I wanted to try to not pay attention to it and see if the things that I experience when they are happening, but yet not like asking about it or, having, people say, if I'm experiencing this, is this related to an astrological event that's going on? And so, interesting enough, even with a sort of a way of ignoring it, I was able to still experience things during certain events, like Mercury retrograde's a perfect one to sound off on, which apparently we're in. And there's a lot of people that just you know completely have said there's no real evidence to back it, and and stuff. So like I said, I personally wanted to test it out and just not again ignore it. And that's kind of what was weird about last year too, is so much that happened last year that to sit there and then go ahead and ignore that. We were already dealing with a lot of things, and even then it was definitely a year for us all to look internally to ourselves. And uh you know some of those events would happen. It was like it just kind of magnified and amplified the whole situation. So but so this year I'm kind of, again, still not wonderfully getting into it. At least I'm being aware of it. Again, still might not know it all or know everything about it, but some of them, the you get used to them. The whole Mercury in retrogrades, like I said, another perfect example of it. But those happen several times a year, and a lot of people are affected by it, and some are infected. That's a good one. Affected by it in the sense that they don't even realize it, but yet they'll still pass it off. It's just whatever. It's just the mood that they're in and stuff. But it's like all correlated. So that's why I look at it. It's like you try to balance it all out and see if there's anything that makes sense. But so it's all good. I mean, it's if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. It's okay. And that's the that's the great thing about it. Go with what you feel and what you're comfortable with. And but yeah, I mean, I knew, so like what was it, Thursday morning we had a solar eclipse, and I remembered hearing about it, and for some reason I forgot about it at the same time. I totally forgot it was this week, and even though I did remember people saying it and seeing a few little posts about it, but it just didn't stick. And come Thursday morning, I was driving into work, and I'm leaving at 5:30 in the morning, so the sun is just barely, hitting over the horizon and stuff like that. And I remember looking over, and it takes me, an hour and 10 minutes to drive into work. And when I looked over to the east, because it's off my pretty much to the right side, so I'm heading north. I look over to the east, and I see the sun, and I'm like, "Wow, that's a really crazy cloud that's blocking out some of that sun." And I'm like, again, not really not all everything was aligned for me at that moment. And so I'm like, wow, that's really crazy. And because I'm driving, so I can't stare at it long enough. And even then with the drive, when you're looking over, you got trees, and sometimes you got buildings, and you got semis that might be passing you. So you you're looking for like all of like a few seconds or so, and you look over, hey Jeff, good morning. And I look over, I just keep seeing this weird black, blotch, kind of carving out some of the sun. And I'm like, wow, that's really, weird. And then and I think after a few times of looking over there, it finally hit me. I'm like, oh, it's the solar eclipse thing. I'm like, how the heck? And so it was so weird because good morning, Jen. And it was cool. And I posted about it the other day, and or yesterday or the day before. I desperately wanted to take a photo of it, but the problem is, you know, we all know, anybody that does any photography, even if you're a complete amateur, you can't point a camera directly at a light source because it's just going to wash everything out. That's just common sense. Just like if you're taking a photo of somebody and there's a strong light behind them, whether it is a man-made light or the sun and stuff, it's going to wash everything out on the person or whatever thing you're taking a photo of. And so I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to turn that and time it right in between trees and all that to get any photo of it. Um, so it's kind of a bummer because I wish I could have had, some sort of it, but even then I would have just had this, orange dot, and it maybe you'd see something, maybe you wouldn't. Oh, cheers, Dave. How are you, sir? And yeah, so I mean it was kind of goofy. But I like I said, I wanted to, and even then by the time I got to work, which is was about 6:30. So like I said, it's about an hour and 10 minutes when I leave. And when I rolled into the parking lot, the sun was already up, and you almost couldn't see any of the eclipse anymore because it was just, obviously moved away. But I was hoping maybe I did, because the parking lot is really big and open. So I mean, I would have had space to take a photo of it, but it was gone. And so it was a bummer not to get a photo, or at least something that would represent it a little bit. But heck, I was even thinking of just getting my sunglasses out and putting it in front of my camera just to sort of block it, But like I said, by the time I got to work, it was already long gone. So it's like, bummer. But that's okay. But like I said, the point of that, here was another astrological event, and for me, I definitely I had some strange things going on all day Thursday. Uh, and again, some of it, I'm busy, doing work stuff, and so I wasn't really paying attention. Um, and then, you notice it, but you don't notice it at the same time because, you're busy, trying to get some stuff done. And I just was like, and then, I get home, and I definitely wasn't doing well at home, Thursday night, and, not enough to where it's like, horrible and I got to crawl into a hole or anything like that. But it's enough that it stinks, and so, but I was curious. I mean, I don't know if anybody else had anything going on all day Thursday, if you felt different. Because like I said, it was odd. Oh, geez. It just made me think of it, um, uh, one thing that was interesting that started off the day Thursday probably as the eclipse was starting, or at least close to it. Uh, you know, my son, just turned 10, and he's, autistic, and um, everything's routine. And most people that know of autism and things like that, a lot of autism, kids that are on the spectrum and stuff like that, things are done in sort of a routine fashion. You there, my son, can have a little bit of some variations, but for the most part, things are this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and it's not like a meltdown if it doesn't, if it's not perfectly to order, but it's just how things go. And so I remember, again, this is, I'm sorry, I'm backtracking now, before I've noticed, even realized what was going on. But also, I had a good friend that's watching right now that enlightened me of some of this, which is why it triggered when I saw that she's in the room. But I was, it, so in the middle of the night, I remember, normally I'm a light sleeper, but I did horrible sleeping the night before. And so I was really tired. So I was, the less sleep I get, obviously, when I finally do sleep good, I'm pretty well out, which is weird because I am a light sleeper, but when obviously you are depleted and you don't have a lot of gas in the tank, you're pretty much passed out. And so being a light sleeper, I hear a noise. I mean, even sometimes the air conditioning or the heat, depending on the season, kicks on. It's like, you jump a little bit, and it's like, oh, or especially when these temperatures are shifting, doesn't matter what season, the house creaks and things like that, which is pretty standard, with the temperature fluctuations. And, so you hear a floor creaking, or you hear, the vents and stuff, bend, creaking, and, so the whole thing. And I'm like, it was, I know, so I kind of hear something. I hear some real light noise. So I was laying on my left side, and the door to the out of the bedroom was on my back. And I kind of rolled over to look over my shoulder like this, over my right shoulder, and I look over and I see my son now in the hallway with an iPad in his hand. And I'm like, trying to like make sense of this real quickly. Hey, good morning, Matt. And I I'm like, oh my God, and then and my wife's kind of stirring, and then I'm like, Nathan's, his name's Nathan. I'm like, Nathan's up and he's got an iPad in his hand. And as I'm saying that, I realize there's all kinds of light funneling in because the stairs to go down are right there because we're up on the second floor. I can see all this light coming up. And I'm like, so I immediately go over and I tap my watch, and it illuminates, hey Tim. I tap my watch and I see 3:40 a.m. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And so like, I mean, for me, I mean, it's I'll react, so I jump out of bed and I start going after him. And so he's already at this point because he knows there's smoke commotion in his parents' bedroom. So I'm going down after him. And I mean, as I'm going down the stairs, it's obviously the brightness of lights. I'm like squinting real bad, and I round in the corners. I'm just noticing every light is on, everywhere. All the rooms, the living room, the family room, the even the bathroom, the half bath down there, the kitchen lights are on, and I'm like, what is going on? And I round the corner, and he's in the family room where he normally, well, I mean, he roams around, but he was in the family, and he's sitting on the couch, just all joyous, chewing bubble gum, and I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, and I'm, kind of looking back over to the kitchen. I see, it's literally still like a minute too later. So it's 40-ish in the morning. And I'm like, bud, it is still night time. And as soon as I said that, he stands up, he puts his iPad down and goes running back upstairs. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to shut down all these lights because there's no way, I'm keeping them up. And so I'm starting to go through all the rooms. But as I'm doing that, I hear him slam his door, not in a bad way, but just that's how he does. He doesn't like lightly do it. He just closes it. He goes into his bedroom. He's ready. He jumped into bed. And so I'm shutting all the lights down. I get back upstairs and, I go into his room and, I'm just like, and I'm trying to talk to him real quickly, but, silently, hey, dad. And I'm just like, dude, I mean, you got to be asleep. We can't, you got several more hours. We got to go night. Cause right now he's also going to kind of like a summer school camp thing, and so he's got to get some rest, or he's going to be pretty rough at his school. And so by that point, my wife came into the room because, for me, it's like I scratch to get whatever kind of sleep I can because I'm normally my alarm's at 4:30 right now. And so to figure this all out, and so she decides to stay in there just to see if he'll get to sleep. And I tried to lay back down, but that didn't work out. And so I was, now my head's thinking, and I'm just like, what's going on, and then I get up eventually, to go to work and stuff, and then I'm seeing the eclipse and stuff, and then I shared some information, and then they were like, well, yeah, that eclipses can affect, autism, kids a little bit. And because my son doesn't just do that. He doesn't just wake up and leave his room in the mornings. Like when he's in his room, he knows it's bedtime. He'll make noise and we'll hear it on the monitor because we still use one. And then we'll, investigate. But since we didn't hear anything, even, both of us didn't hear anything, I think he just literally got up. Now, funny enough is then when I get home, you know, my wife was telling me, it's like, well, she was talking to our daughter and saying that she claims that he woke up at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And if he was up that long, how did nobody hear anything, at all? And because I mean, he's not super, super quiet. So you do hear things, but I'm like, how did that work out? So, but anyway, just to kind of wrap that up, I mean, like I said, it obviously affects people a little bit differently. Like I said, that's why I wanted to hit the astrological stuff again this morning, because I wanted to, I was kind of curious. Hey, Tanya. So, let's see. Debbie wrote in. So, had a terrible nightmare that my granddaughter was being attacked by somebody doing witchcraft during the eclipse, and that I had to protect her. Ah, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. And things like that. It's just not that it was, 100% true, but even then there's probably some underlying things of just her just needing to be protected, not necessarily from true evil or somebody that's like, a witch or anything like that, but just probably needs a little extra protection right now. And so, but yeah, so that was, so like I said, that was Thursday and it was really wild. But again, maybe, if anybody else noticed anything out of the ordinary, definitely share it in the comments, maybe on Thursday. If like I said, a lot of times we don't realize when these things are going on, especially if you're not paying attention. And when they finally hit, you just kind of always assume it's this or it's that, but nobody realizes there's all these other things that are going on that kind of help contribute to that. So, if you guys had any other weird things that you noticed in your day, let me know. And so, yeah. But the other thing I wanted to hit, because that was something I posted about and even included in the description for this show this morning, was I wanted to touch base, and we'll see how long we talk about it for. I I posted about this earlier in the week, so if you guys didn't see it, you can always go check it out because I explained it. But even then, I'm probably going to do it again right now anyway. Um, it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was, it was kind of sprinkling and stuff like that, so it wasn't bad. But it was a day that I was after work. I came home, and I noticed we've had we're pretty good with animal life around here, and we've had a family of squirrels just literally hanging out and running around and stuff. And so, and most of them, there's at least three of the kids, which you couldn't tell they're kids anymore, but we recognize them a little bit. But and the mom squirrel, and so there's just all this running around and wrestling, and some of them are, the mom's getting a little bit more testy with the kids and stuff because they're trying to cling. God, good morning, Rhonda. Nah, Dave, it's okay, buddy. It's okay. um, and so, but there's five of them running around. So, so I think maybe it was four kids. I don't know, but there's five of them all running around. There's just all this, like, you can hear them even in the house. I'm like, what are they doing? So, I go outside and I'm trying to just stop them from, because some of them you can tell when you listen to the animals and things like that, you can kind of, even just from our own conscious thoughts, you can tell if something's not right, and you don't have to be a genius to figure it out, but there definitely was some fighting going on. And so I go out there to kind of like put thanks, Sharonda. I put a just to try to, like, slow them down for it, because sometimes a lot of animals, if you can just distract them long enough, you can get them to shift away from, like, just like we can with people. You can kind of talk to somebody, and if you're not feeding into, like, let's say they're angry and yelling and stuff, as long as you're not feeding it, it's not going to get worse, you know what I mean? But you have to, it's difficult if you've never done that and worked with somebody that they could be yelling and screaming. But if you're talking calm and stuff like that, eventually your energy is going to hit them and it's going to start slowing them down. So that was my intention, was is just to kind of get them to shift a little bit. So that way, it's like, what are you guys doing? There's no need for all this. There's plenty of nature here to go find a tree and hang out in. So, um, so I mean, I even, was even going out and into the yard, and it's a couple of them were just kind of like sitting there. Hey, good morning, Ron. And they're sitting, whether it's on a play set or they're on the fence and stuff, and they're just kind of looking at me. And I'm like, and for a while, I used to sort of do, I used to do it a lot, where I try to mimic them, some of their vocal techniques and things. And so I was doing some of that. So that way, then they're like really like looking at me going, what are you doing? Now, it either could be because I'm real crappy at it or it really is truly working. So I, I'll take the 50-50 shot at it that, I'll lean towards it's working because at least they're looking at you going, oh, okay. And they're not running away scared and things like that. So, that at least that's not happening. But so I was doing it a little bit just to get them to, again, shift their energies and stop with the running around and fighting. But I, but it was interesting. So they're like looking at me, and the one adult was, which I think was the mom. Sometimes when they're leaning over, you can't always tell. You can't see things always if you're looking a certain way. And so, so I'm looking at them, and it's kind of following along because again, I kept making some of the sounds, and I, was hitting still kind of doing a little bit of the tones towards them. And this one's kind of following me like parallel through the yard because I was kind of going over to where some of the kids were on the other side of the yard. So I'm kind of walking over and the mom's walking with me and still very well, like, tuned to me, but, like, okay, what is this? He is definitely not one of us, but yet he is making all these sounds that sound like us. And so eventually, real casually doesn't run. He just, or she, goes over, climbs up the fence and goes into the tree in my neighbor's yard, which is where where the rest of them were. And then, then they're kind of running around the tree and they're kind of, a couple of them are fighting and it's like, like serious fighting, you can hear the chattering. And so so then I'm trying to call them. And then I realized, a long time ago, I remember one time because, again, I love having, not that I've ever really truly, picked up a squirrel or held on to a squirrel. I mean, I've hand fed wild squirrels before, build up that trust. And so one time I thought it would be kind of interesting to get like a squirrel call that actually does, sound even closer than like what I can do. So I get the squirrel call and I run back outside and, finally like I start tapping it and really mimicking exactly what they're doing, even like how they're like literally copying them for, sound for sound. And then it was ticking the mom off a little bit because now the mom's chattering at me the whole time. And I'm loving it because I'm just standing there and I'll walk out into the grass and then look at them and then I'll kind of walk back and stuff. So I'm kind of moving around. But it went on. I was outside for a good 45, 50 minutes doing this back and forth. And the kids just after one point were just all kind of like laying on branches, just like whatever. But like the mom and me were just going back and forth. So eventually what I did was is I would stop doing the squirrel call stuff and then I would just try to communicate like basically telepathically. And so I'm trying to throw things out there saying, what are we doing? I mean, you don't need to be doing all this and let's just, have a good day and stop running around and, and it's funny because you would watch because I could see the mom in the tree and you would watch as when I would send the message, she would stop moving and then like turn her face to where her eye was just locked on me and then she'd be quiet. So you knew the message was getting there because then when she would get done, she'd look back at me like this and then she'd do some chattering. And so then I'd send another message, and then she'd stop, turn, look at me real quick, as the message is getting to her, and then she'd look back and start chattering again. So this, like I said, this went on. And then, like I said, sometimes I'd mix in with the actual squirrel call that I own. And it was crazy. But it's something I've never really talked about before publicly. I mean, a few people know that I've kind of been into it a little bit, but it's something one thing that the whole animal communicating thing was I've been fascinated with it, all the way back, way before I even thought about, before even going down a spiritual path and doing mediumship and stuff. And uh, I, always heard stories of, of people can learn to communicate with animals. And, again, back way back in the, 80s, late 80s and stuff and early 90s, it's like, yeah, that stuff doesn't exist, right? Because it's all taboo and stuff. But it was fascinating. Oh, hang on a second, guys. I just realized we had a I didn't realize it at first, but apparently we had somebody trolling us. And so sorry about that. Some of you's got some of that messages directed at you. I have now blocked them, so they should be no more. Sorry, didn't mean to stop like that. And but anyway, um so like I said, it was always something I thought about, but I just, and there's some stories that I actually they're are included in my book that I'm still working on. Um that I don't want to share them here because I want to save them for the oh shoot, wait, hold on a second. I did nope, 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 nope. Oh no. How did I do that? I just did something I didn't want to do. Crap. Oops, I might have blocked somebody that I didn't mean to block. All right. Well, hopefully that's not permanently. I'll have to figure out how do I oh gosh. I've never accidentally blocked the wrong person before. I don't know. It doesn't give me a way to undo it now. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll figure that out afterwards. Hopefully that's not permanent. We'll find out. Um anyway, uh like I said, I was always fascinated with it. And there was some times where I was first learning meditation and stuff that I uh started noticing there was things that were happening. There instances of some validation when it came to working with the animals and things. And again, there's some moments that were like, there's no way that could have just happened without something going on. It's just too unusual for it not to be true. So, but you know, by the time I graduated high school and then went to did some college and started getting working and stuff like that. I'll have a good time, Rodney. All right, thanks, Jen. And I there was a lot of times where a lot of stuff that I was thinking about, I kind of like had to put off to the side because I was focusing on, you know, my career and all that fun stuff. And so now that when I finally started getting into spirituality and taking those classes and then the mediumship and stuff, and so I've been slowly, going into it now. We've always had some sort of pets here, small pets, and guinea pigs have been like one of the main ones that we've had since in this house. And uh and I've been working, especially with the two new guinea pigs that we got, not that they're new anymore, but what we got last year. And one of them's really communicative. I can't even say it right. Well, likes to communicate, and not just vocally, but telepathically. And so I, will sit there and practice with them because they're right there. I mean, why not? And so if it builds up, it makes me stronger at it, and then I can maybe do, excuse me, work with others, and maybe there's things I can learn or maybe help other, owners and things like that. Or, if we're out in, nature and I can maybe, chat with some of the wildlife and things. And so that's kind of what I want to do. I just want to get it stronger, and it doesn't really take a ton of effort. It's just working at it. You know what I mean? Just learning how it works because it's a little bit different, but the energies are there. You're just kind of, it's another door. It's another door that I've, opened, and it's another door that I'm working at. And it's okay, and so I'm in, I love it. You know what I mean? I love it a lot. And so uh uh it's a good time. And it might be easier to some, it might be difficult. I mean, I don't really know where I fall in because you know I don't think there's really studies on how fast you can unlock your abilities to do this and that. And so, uh, but again, it's just something I've been working on, and so I haven't really talked about it, you know. But it's neat, and so to be able to share or understand, like when the guinea pigs, especially the one, I'll sit there and just look at it, and it's interesting because there's many times that my wife and daughter will be there, and I'll start chatting with, especially the one. The other one's really afraid of me when I do it because they're just this like, whoa, something is really wrong. So I kind of get this like, like panic stare at me. But the other one's just like, yeah, let's talk. And so I'll we'll go back and forth on things, and then I'll tell it to do something specifically. Not crazy, but just do something, and it'll do it. And then my daughter will look at me real quickly, like, "What did you just tell her to do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so my daughter, gets really like into it. Like she's like, because now she like all the time she's like, "What are they saying? What are they? What?" And I'm like, like, come on. But I mean, it's cool because it is exciting. I mean, when you able to pick up on things, and you're understanding. Really, you just, again, we're reading in the energy, and the energy just gets translated. And it's just so much fun for me to get to do that. Now, like I said, sometimes I'll work it in other situations, or I'm out in public if I see other animals and things like that. And most of the time, like they're definitely on edge. But you think about it, wildlife, that's all they ever know. Everything is, especially when you're, kind of a prey animal, you're just afraid of everything. So to sit there and just all of a sudden have like a open conversation, like if we were just walking down the street and we bump into each other, we're going to have a conversation, and it's no big deal. For them, it's a whole nother story. So, it's that's what I'm trying to learn, is how do you do that to where you're not freaking them out to where they run away? Because it's not like you're making an aggressive move towards them. You're stopped, and you're just kind of relaxing, and you're calming yourself down, and you just start throwing some information out there, and see how they react to it. And like I said, sometimes they'll hang around for a little bit because they're just like, okay, weird. But, and then there's other times where it's like, no, we're not even going to mess with this. I know that's a human, we're out, and that's fine, but that's, kind of, I think the real ultimate challenge is just working with, true wildlife, ones that, are not pets. And to be able to get them to, build up a little bit of trust with at least you, and knowing your energy and sharing that out is kind of a cool thing. So, but like I said, it's fun, and you never know what you're going to get. Some days the communication's easy, some days it's not. So, that's why it's something I have to just keep working on all the time. And so, like I said, the guinea pigs are the best ones to do that. And a couple times it's neat because because I have a couple desks, and the one desk upstairs, I'll lean over because I can see them because they're right next to the computer desk, and I'll just look over at them, and I'll see one, and I'll just start talking real quickly, but in my head, throwing the energy that towards them, and they'll stop and then turn and look right at me. So that's what's fun too, is because when you kind of surprise them in a way, but not in a scary way, but it's neat to see their demeanor, their energy change, and they know there's a message, and they hear it, they feel it, and then they're looking right at you because they know you sent it, because they recognize the signature. So so I love when that happens, because like I said, I don't want to, overdo it and things like that. And I want them to do what they need to do, as far as just going about their day. But once in a while, it's fun to chat with them and just give them see what kind of information I can get out of them. And, there's little things I can have them do, or, especially when they get out, and they're the family's playing with them and letting them stretch their legs. Cause obviously, I mean, we have a big enough cage that they got plenty of movement, but then we'll put them out in our living room and put a big cage out, and they can kind of run around and really have some fun. Oh, good morning, Samantha. Um, and so, yeah, it's, and I encourage that, because I think, every one of you can easily, and I think I see Dave was writing, let's see, love attractive wildlife. Dave saying he's attracted wildlife to his garden and stuff. Like that's a great way, because even that, just, having people, having, wildlife, birds, squirrels, other little rabbits, that kind of thing. You give them a place to come over that they can sense the energy then. So even then, you're doing something great. they love nature. We know that. So you're inviting me, and you have a nice space for them to kind of wander around, and um, they pick up on that right away. So to uh anybody can do it. And that's the cool thing is that's why when I tell you guys all the time, go out, be out in nature, slow down, don't run through nature, slow down. See what's going on around you. There's a lot of times that when I see people now, if you're exercising and you're running or you're biking on trails, that's a different story. Look, you please do that. You know what I mean? But if you're going to go for a leisurely stroll in a park or, whatever, uh, you could if you're doing it for exercise, then I know you understand you gotta have a pace. But if you're just having it just to be outside and feel things, then slow down a little bit, especially in a park where you don't really have to, speed walk down a trail, you just don't have to do it. But if you slow down, yeah, you might look like you're taking forever, but at the same time, you're slowing down to nature's pace and you're able to feel the energy if you're open to it. And that's when like wildlife, you'll start seeing the wildlife because they're already watching you because they want to know what you're doing. And especially if you present that energy toward to them, like, hey, I'm just being cool and calm. They'll make some movements and say, hey, we're over here, just so you know. And it works. It really works if you slow down. And I love that. I love doing that. And especially like when um you know, when you get into like some of the bigger animals like deer, those are crazy because you would think most people know what a deer looks like, and they're got a nice tan brown color to it, and it's amazing how well that brown uh just completely fades in because I've watched people literally walk by deer. They're maybe 10, 15 feet away, and they don't even realize they're there yet. I'm standing there watching these people walk by, hey, how you doing? They walk by, they don't realize literally right next to them there's deer. And it's like and it's crazy how we get so tunnel vision in those things, but if you slow down, the animals just sort of pop out, and it's not just animals because sometimes you might see interesting things, um, you might see flowers and maybe you see trees that look a certain way or just little things, or maybe you see bugs and stuff. But you know, there's all that stuff that's there. But it's kind of fun to get yourself immersed in there. And like I said, once you slow down, you start shifting all your energies, you open to it. So it's good for yourself. And then you're inviting all the rest of nature to come over there and hang out with you. You know, not necessarily going to come up and sit on your lap or land on your shoulder or something like that, um, but you give the right energy towards them, and you're not, you don't have tension or you're scared and stuff like that because that's not going to work either. But just be able to just understand boundaries in a way because they're there, you're here, and you're not there to hurt them. And once they realize you're not going to do that, then they're not going to be running away freaked out. Because I mean, obviously if you make a sudden movement, well, then you just lost the whole idea. So even like when you're watching animals of any sort, and when you're ready to leave, you still just kind of turn slowly and walk away. So it's again still showing them a little bit of respect. Now hard part is, especially in parks, you're going to have people of all different ways of things. So they might be scaring them on purpose. So it's hard to really build trust on some of the animals that are in, a lot of your local parks and stuff because they're being scared on purpose sometimes by kids and, maybe even some adults yelling at them and stuff like that. So, it's unfortunate that you can't just go and truly enjoy it. But that's why sometimes it's nice when you do open up, you might be able to sense them over in a direction that's further out, so they definitely have a longer gap between, the trail and like where they are, but they'll at least make it known that they're there to you, that you're picking up on, and you can see them, watch them from a distance. And yet all these other people that are running through, then they won't notice it, but then they're not scaring them away. So, uh, yeah, let's see. Debbie did a dolphin experience with three other people, three free range dolphins. All three of them clung to me the whole time. That's awesome. Yeah. And again, it's just the energy you give off. And and even if it's you get into those situations where you're trying to, again, there's that word I don't like to use, but you're working at being open towards that, you just got to keep doing it, but some people are just there. They're relaxed and they're calm enough because animals pick up on that, and if they feel your tensions rising because you're either afraid or you're scared and all those type of emotions, then it's always tough. Um, but when they realize you're not there to harm them or stuff like that, yeah, they're going to check you out. They want to be around you and things. So that's awesome. And Debbie's saying that she sent them love, and that's that's what they want too. They know, again, you're not going to hurt them, but yet you're sending them love, and they recognize that. So, like I said, that was this week, and there one of the things that was going on that I thought was kind of fun to share, and who knows, where I'm going to take this, because like I said, I'm always working on new things, or bringing back old things that I remembered before, and trying to implement them. Because you know that's the whole thing, is you never. I've said it a million times. You never stop. Learning. There's always things that are going out there, and you kind of go with what's being called to you, because sometimes you'll just be introduced to something, and it'll be fascinating. This week we had on the Beyond the Silence show, we had a good friend of ours, Bonnie Bird, and we were talking about light language. And that was something that's, over this year alone, I've been really connected to, and I'm really fascinated by it. And I'm actually, like, starting to hear some of the light language, going on when when I'm relaxed, and I've opened my heart up enough, and I'm hearing it. So it's the doors are opening even in that sense. So I'm kind of excited to see where this goes the more I dive into it, and um, you know, implement it into what I do. And so you'll have to stay tuned for that. Because I'm hoping, the more I work at it and stuff like that, maybe there'll be a time where it'll be one of these shows that I'll give you guys some light language to kind of help you out, and we'll set an intention for it for the day, and that'll be something you guys can use. I mean, most people don't understand it, but it's and real, just to highlight it real fast, light language is, it's an ancient language that is not, technically, is not known. It's not a spoken language that we know of. It is a universal tones and frequencies that is embedded in our DNA. So what happens is, when you hear others speaking like language, there's messages within those. So the words are coming across, but it's not truly words. It's more of a frequency and what's embedded in it. So you absorb that's going on, and then that translates, and just, and you then end up feeling what it's all about. You feel what the message is. And so it's really neat to get the experience. And the more I've experienced it this year, being a part of some healing shows, and when you hear the others doing it, and it's just, you can feel what's going on, and you understand what the messages are truly saying. And I love it. I really do. And so I'm hoping, the more I get into it, the more I practice at it, and that it'll be something that I can use, as another fun tool for everybody to share messages, and whatever the case may be. Maybe just love, might be some healing involved with it, and just peace in general. So that'll be a good stuff. Um, but that's, like I said, that's the fun part about, once you start opening these doors, and you've worked at what you did, like for me, when I started spirituality, it was all about learning to communicate with my guides. And I spent 7 years doing that. That's all I did, almost every day, relatively, some days not, but every day. And when the right time happened is when I got involved in paranormal, and getting connected with the team I'm a part of, and learning and going under the team's original medium, and getting me to open that door further and further. And then I've also worked with others, like, you guys know Debbie's another one of those that helped out as well. And that's the neat thing, is everybody that I would learn under, added something to it. So, it's just not one person that started it all. I learned from several of them, and took time for each of them. And again, they showed up at the right moment that I needed them, which was really cool too. And again, all that was useful, and it kept opening me up. And then finally, I'm doing what I'm doing. And then once I worked at that for years and years and years, then, other things started popping in. Like, I was not big into doing cards. I love doing cards now. Like, it's super fun. And so when I do the live shows, where it's a reading show, and I'm popping cards, because I really connect with the cards, and it's been amazing to do that because then everybody has usually had some sort of connection with that card big time. And you know, whether it was instantly or what was coming up. And it was always fascinating, especially when it was something that was like kind of future a little bit, and they hit me up, days later or a week later, and be like, "Oh my gosh, you remember when you pulled that card? This is now happening." I mean, so you were spot on, and it's like that's great, you know, and and I'm working on other stuff. So it's, again, it's never stops, never ends, and that's okay because again, I don't, you want to do a lot, and a lot of people do. They want to do all these things, but it's like, no, you got to do one thing. And if the time comes when something new needs to happen, you'll know it because you've been working at the original, the core of your basis of doing things like me, mediumship, the whole communicating. Once you everything gets comfortable enough to where you feel like you're home, then the next, opportunity pops, and it's only going to pop up if it's meant for you. I'm sorry. This is what happens when you talk so long. um, but that's the thing is your guides, your angels, however you want to look at who's supporting you, they're only going to bring the things in that you need to do, especially if it's another thing that they need to add to you and what you can do for others. Then, especially if you're in the most of us are in the realm of helping people. So, uh, and I think it's neat because I've gone from just doing some readings to now being able to do card stuff, and maybe the animal communication will be a thing so I can help pet owners out down the road. And then once that's comfortable enough, and then the light language stuff is another thing that's slowly showing some signs. And and there's several other reading styles that I've been practicing at. So there's a lot of interesting things that is it keeping me busy, which is great. um but again, they're all falling in when they're supposed to, and that's the main thing I want to make sure you guys understand. So if these are things that you guys end up doing or opening up, just know that whatever it is that you're starting with, you're going to stick with that for a while. You're not going to do it for a couple of weeks and be like, okay, what's next? It's not how it works. I mean, this you have to throw out a lot of what we understand nowadays. It's not like you're going to go and take a bit, like let's say you're for your job, you're going to take a course, you're going to get certified at it, and then as soon as you get certified, you're an expert at it. Doesn't work in this field. Sorry to say that. It's not instant. You know, there are some areas that people are have done it a lot longer, so that's why they can do it right away. But if you're directed or you're guided to do a new thing or add to what you're doing, you might not be great right away. That's why it takes work. And so like there's certain things like I want to do, which is coming close. I want to do rune readings and rune casting. So you throw those out there. And I've been able to do a few for a close friends just as practice, and to see the results, and to hear what they're saying back. It's pretty cool. So um but that's the thing is everything is just taking time. And even with the rune stuff, there's so much memorization of just the runes itself. That's where I'm stuck at. Is like I understand it, but I need the cheat sheets just because I just haven't memorized them. And I'm doing the elder ones, which are 24. So there's it's a lot of runes to read. So I mean, and there's so many, there's the meanings, there's the actual name of them, and then what it is they do. So it's I'm trying to do it in chunks. I'm trying to do a few at a time, and trying to memorize a couple at a time, so that way that I'll be able, by the time I get to the end, I'll have them all. But I still want to do a show with them, even though I'm going to use the cheat sheets to help me out. But because I've already gone through them all, I at least know it. But the cool thing is the runes, what pops up is the way it's supposed to be. And then I take it a step further, just like I do with the cards. If I'm going to do the reading, I read the card for the face value of it, but it's also what my guides are then throwing in on top of it. And that's the key. So anybody can do those. Everyone can get a card deck and just pull them out and read it, and then that's it. It's what else you can add to the reading that makes it a little bit more enjoyable. And because again, if your guys are saying, well, this is for this, but you expand it and saying this is how it all connects, then it's something. And that's what people that using cards and of any sorts, I don't care what type of cards you're talking about, but It's just one of those things. It's not just reading it for face value, it's taking it to the next level. And so those that do that, and I'm not discrediting anybody, because I mean, there's a lot of great card readers out there. Um, I feel comfortable to where I feel like I need, if I'm going to pull a card, yes, I'll show you what it is, but I'm also going to tell you what else is going on along with it. And so I feel like that's what I need to do when I do card readings. So that should hopefully make some sense. Anybody else is fine, because I mean, they really can put it down. They can go through the whole thing and talk about this and that, and however they do it, their style, that's their style, and that's the fun thing about it. But if you feel drawn, so like if you go to an event and somebody's doing cards and you feel that connection, like you want to get a reading from them, then that's the way it is. So go and do it. But if you see somebody else doing it and you just don't feel it, then don't do it. Because you need to feel right with it, and that goes with anything. So you go to any kind of holistic metaphysical type of event, if you really want a reading, make sure you kind of scan the place out, walk around, see who's all there, and sort of pick up on it. You know what I mean? Because what kind of when you walk by the table, regardless of who it is, do you feel drawn to them? And if so, then that's when then you make it work. So, always keep that in mind. And especially if you're looking to get connected with things, whether it's just, wanting to know what's coming up, or some help with a situation, or, just trying to get messages, from a loved one or so, it's just how that plays out. So, um, let's see. I know I've missed a lot of things. So I apologize. But yeah. But so hopefully that works out. Let's see. Oh, this will be perfect, because this will end the show out, because we got about 8 minutes left. One of the other things I put in the description of the show is later today, which is pretty fascinating. Uh, I will be taking a short little trip to a local friend's house, and they live out a little ways, and it is what could be the hopeful potential site for a future spiritual class. Yes. Now, not necessarily me being the lead here. There's still some other things that have to happen. But I've been to my friend's house once before. Fortunately, it was a different time of season, so I didn't really get to explore it. But that's what today is. Today is get to explore it, and there's a lot of cool things going on with this location. And one thing I will be doing is even taking some of my Native American flutes along with me and playing. There's a lot of nature, which is really cool, and I think it'll be if it works out and she's real cool with it, this could easily be a class. Now, it will not be this year, uh, just because of timing, and obviously we want to really make sure that all the pandemic and stuff is kind of run its course. So to be easier and safer, even though the majority of the class will be outdoors, I'd rather, play it safe and just make sure that, like, by this time next year, or right around this time next year, we won't have to worry about anything. And we can all just kind of be normal. And because obviously, when you take classes and things like that, you really want to try to just not have to worry about this, because that's, if you put worries in there, that's, kind of helps make things foggy for you. And if you're really trying to learn and adapt to, what we're teaching, you know, eh, you don't need that kind of block. That's not the point. The point is just to try to get all this information, so that way when you go home, you can really start practicing it. But you need to be, you know, not having all those other concerns and things. You need to be excited. You need to be open, and that'll be the fun thing. But the essentially it's things that I've talked about, and like I said, there's some things a lot of logistics that need to happen, but this is definitely step one. And like I said, if this all works out, this will be really cool for next year. And I think it'll be a blast. But it's a lot of the things that I went through and how I got started, and it's a great beginning for a lot of people. And if it works out, um, then I definitely will be promoting it a lot. And we'll see if we get a lot of people that are going to be interested in it. And like I said, um, you could be brand new at this kind of thing, and I'm using spirituality, it's just a generalized term for it, but just, learning to communicate with your guides, because I know a lot of people don't know they exist or not sure who they are. This class will at least get you started with learning who they are and figuring out how it all works, how it all ties together for you and what you could be using them for. And so this is a great first class. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully it'll work out in the end. Oh, Sharon, you have a great day. Thanks for coming. So keep that in mind. Definitely keep that in mind. Gee. I wonder. uh, Good morning, Carmen. But so yes, I'm truly excited to see if this happens. So, um, yeah, I will, Margaret. Yeah, like I said, it'll if it works, and like I said, there's other things that have to get involved, and like I said, this will be perfect with it being a good year out to get everything. Because honestly, been wanting to do this for a couple years now, and it just you know, laziness on my part a lot, and the pandemic definitely didn't work out, and just all kinds of other situations, just everything come jumping in. But that's okay, because it's going to happen when it was supposed to happen, and if it's next year, then it's next year, and that's okay. It's not. I'm not even frustrated over it. It's because things are going to happen when they need to happen, and that's okay. Again, it's not the um, you know things happened and life happened, and we just go with it. And so if it goes next year, it's going to go. And so, like I said, we'll figure it out, because more than likely final decisions and things like that will probably be at the end of this year, possibly right as we get into the beginning of 2022. So that way it gives everybody plenty of time to it will be on a weekend, so I will, because I want, as much as it would be easier during the week. I understand there's a lot of people that taking time off of work isn't always the best, and they don't have a lot of vacation time. During the week would be the easiest for it to happen, just because of timing. But again, I understand it, so that's why the earlier we set it and get it scheduled, that way I can make sure the weekend will end up working for a lot of people. But uh, so like I said, we'll work all that out. And like I said, if it's not, I mean, you guys it'll come up. I mean, it's going to come up once in a while, but and even then, I'd like to bring some other people on that will definitely help promote it and things. And so that's always a goal of mine. I've had some people in mind that I would love to pop on the show and kind of hang with me in the morning sometime, and if they do that, that'll be awesome. So I haven't asked them. That's the other thing. So I have to ask them to be a part of it and see if they're even awake at this hour. But it's 10:30. They're on the same time zone as me, so they should. So, but I have to check their schedule to see if they're even available, because sometimes things are going on in the weekends, which makes it tough. The more we get into the summer, their schedules get pretty booked up, so it's rough. But we'll see. So, so yes. So definitely, like I said, I wanted to throw that out there as a little bit. I've done it before, but this was a couple of years ago. And now that we're getting to a point where, lives are starting to return to normal and events are starting to pop up, and we're seeing a lot of great things happening, and which is fantastic. And so this will just be one of those things that we're hoping that we can put on there, and it'll be a blast. It'll be a great weekend. And it'll definitely open your eyes a lot, especially for, again, as long as you're open. But there'll be a lot of the curiosity and how things work, and even then, this class is really for you. It's for you to open up. It's not meant to do any of the stuff that I do. You gotta remember, this was all planned out. Everything, for me, my life is the journey, is the path I'm leading. And so when it opened up at the right time. And the spiritual stuff for me was what opened it. Now, like I said, and I said spiritual as a generalized term, but you can certainly be religious, because you don't maybe want to say spirit guides, but you can definitely say your angels. And so that's completely fine. And but yes, this will be a really great class. And again, it's you don't even have to open up any doors. That's the other thing. So don't think that you're going to go down doing what I do. You might be completely happy with it. It'll help you out, and that's awesome. So don't feel as though that if you know this going to open up all these doors for you. That's if it's meant to be, it will be. If not, then you're just going to do what you do, and you're going to talk to them, and they'll help you out with situations and make you aware of things and how to do this and that. Especially if you ask them, which is the key. So yeah. Um, Thank you, Debbie. You have a great weekend. So I am going to get out of here. It is 10:31. So I hope you guys are going to have a great rest of your weekend. I know mine's a little busy, so I am looking forward to it, especially this afternoon, because that person did respond. So I will be heading to their house in a few hours. So I'm excited for that. And and then and then tomorrow I'm going to have some family over and kind of do a belated on my side of the family, have my family come over to kind of be with my kids and their birthdays that were the couple weeks ago. So, all righty, gang. So, as always, it is such a pleasure to see you all and have you guys all here and listening. And again, it just means so much to appreciate the love and support that you guys do. So, with that, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm saying everybody say goodbye. Have a great weekend to all of you. So, yes. This has been Mid-Morning Medium Chat with Adam the Black Swamp Medium. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again very, very soon. And with that said, all my love, light, and peace to each and every single one of you. Bye-bye.